go to what feels comfortable, go to what feels good, and they do lock in the Lee Sin for Xiaohao and see how that kind of pans out as their first pick, because now you look at the way that kind of the first game of the series went and their priorities, they're keeping the same here, and they know what they want to go for as their second pick is to that LeBlanc.
Yeah, so the problem with this a little bit is before they picked this in a circumstance where they knew what the enemy jungle was, and as well they're now in a position where their third pick, they can only take either AD or support, they can't take both. So for me, for EDG, they'll just pick something like the Zhao, which has a bit more early pressure than the Hecarim did. But let's just see what they go for. I think EDG could just go for the Nautilus in this situation, right? Partly as a denial, and also because it's honestly pretty good into both Lee Sin and LeBlanc, right? We saw Meiko in the last game, pretty comfortable, but we'll see if they opt in that direction, or they want to find a mid lane answer, right? The Ari not exactly working out for Scout, but if you are going to pick something to respond in the mid lane, it kind of has to be now, or you will get targeted.
And I was also wondering, they saved counter pick for Flandre last time around. Didn't necessarily work to their advantage. I was going to see if they up that priority a little bit. No, it's the Vex that takes center stage. So we get to see this in the last series.
Yeah, so should be able to hold up decent. And I think the main thing with the Vex is if Lee Sin and LeBlanc dive in, you just pop your W, right? Catch them both with the fear. So should fare reasonably well, I feel. But now, AL, I talked about the picks like Tristana that we see into the Zeri as like a counter in lane. Looks like they're not going to try that. And they're just going to pick up the Aphelios instead. So it was important that they secure that AD carry pick, but not necessarily a fantastic response into the Zeri. Kind of need Zeri to step up to you and stay in range for you to deal with them. Now, AL, I feel like, in this scenario, you can ban away top laners. That might counter what you want to pick yourself. Supports, I guess. But really, right? I think EDG, could ban Nautilus here. I think is the main one for me.
Yeah, exactly. We'll see what AL do. They go for the support, so Tom Kench banned away against Meiko, and keeping a little bit of that safety away from not Flandre, the one who locked in the Zeri, Flandre, but Zeri itself, right? And I think that when you're looking at the composition, and you especially see Jiejie on the Zhao, that gives me a bit of reassurance for EDG themselves. A lot of utility in that pick, but also the aggression, right? Which you did have on the Hecarim, and it was so interesting to see it not work out that way. But it feels a little bit more stable, and especially with the combination of Scout on the Vex, once he hits that level 6, there's a lot more proactivity for EDG, which exactly was the turnaround we wanted.
A lot of threat, right? And I do find the Tom Kench ban a little bit weird. I like the Camille ban though. I feel like Camille is something that's really good into the Zeri, right? Because you alter and you can't outplay it. She's kind of trapped there. And now for EDG, I want to see the Nautilus ban. Personally, I think it is the best support answer into the Zeri. I think everything else you can kind of outplay. You can take cleanse into, and your movement speed just makes it hard to land skill shots. We're actually going to go for the Tryndamere ban, so potentially concerned about that as a counter pick. I think for AL, I think the Nautilus makes sense. I feel like that is the preferred pick here rather than the Leona. We'll see if they feel similarly, but maybe QiuQiu wanting to have an advantage in the matchup, but the trade-off is you're going to be less effective at dealing with Zeri later.
That would be interesting. I would love to see the fact that we get the support counter pick, because again, we were talking at the beginning of this, how important both these supports are, how important both these bot lanes are, and that's what we'll get from anyone's legend. So very exciting. They do also lock in the Graves for ZDZ, so you'll have a little bit of that overall AD strength in the top side.
Yeah, and I think one of the big answers to Graves is a Tryndamere. So with that off the cards, you feel a bit more comfortable. But Jayce, we've seen this matchup a lot more earlier in the split, just Jason to Graves. And both seem to be pretty comfortable with it, right? Graves can push the wave quite effectively, but Jayce, does similarly, can trade well with them. Both looking to scale up in the late stages. Now, EDG, I've been saying all draft phase, where's the Nautilus, right? This pick is just front and center in terms of priority, but also in terms of dealing with the Zeri. So feels like EDG could be toying with going in a different direction, but I feel like you should just take the Nor in this situation as a denial, right? That's my view, is deny it from anyone's legend, because I think if you go Leona, they are probably just going to take... I say Nautilus. Maybe they go for the Alistair. We've seen that rise in priority a little bit more, but we'll see what QiuQiu actually wants to pick up.
This would be a spicy pick into the Leona for QiuQiu, as it is, something he has played before, but it fits his style to a T. I still expect the last switch up to the Nautilus. He's just too much of a powerful pick and too common in the LPL, right? For QiuQiu himself, right? 10 games each on the Nautilus Leona, and it will be the Nautilus as you see the smiles come out.
I'm just going to say, right, I find this so weird that we get first pick Zeri, We go through the whole first pick phase. We go through the next ban phase, and then through another pick phase, and we get Nautilus last pick, right? Like, in my mind, this is like such a priority if there's a Zeri in the game, because press R, point and click, there's no real thing that Viper can do to outplay that other than jump over a wall and be 3 miles away when you eventually get knocked up. But either way, I think EDG have a better composition this game, right? Xin Zhao can hold up a bit better than Lee Sin in terms of the early pressure. I think Scout clearly wasn't enjoying the Ari matchup into LeBlanc. There's a lot of threat from this Vex. If you go too close, you can just pop W. You're feared. You can't really outplay it as easily as you can outplay the Charm. No, I like EDG's composition more in this game. And I think that honestly, if we get to the later stages, their team fight's pretty disgusting.
We said that last time. That's what we said last time. It was the same situation. Not the same, obviously it's a little bit different, but I just think it's so funny that we were like setting up this late game and then we still see the Lisa and LeBlanc, and there's that potential for it to just snowball out of the way and completely into EDG's path. So I love that we got the first game that we did for Anyone's Legend, because that literally throws everything up in the air. What can happen tonight? Can EDG even lock in playoffs tonight, or will Anyone's Legend take it home with a 2-0? The world champions have their backs against the wall here in this best of 3, but they have adapted mid-series. They have found what typically works for them, at least, and finding comfort and a little bit more volatility and progressiveness in the early game is so important. It's all about execution now. As EDG versus AL starts for game number 2, we get the spice.
So yeah, we talked about this in the previous series. Like, so many teams will just go up as a group to top to try and get some sort of pick, get a ward down. We often see it traded off. Now, Andre could actually get caught out here.
They all just completed their backs. Okay, well, Andre's like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna back out.
Yeah, I'm gonna not. Thank you very much. Now, we do see the Cole coming in for Viper. I will say Zeri, not necessarily the most impactful in lane. That's perhaps why we saw the Leona priority come out for EDG, is that obviously Leona can kind of check Nort in lane. Nort can't really engage that easily when there's like Leona can just stun you and keep you locked down. So potentially that's the thought process. We also see QiuQiu going for the aftershock, which makes sense, right, in this situation where you need a bit more bulkiness to survive like going into melee range of Leona. But ultimately, you know, we still have this decent LeBlanc that, as much as, right, Forge popped off, don't get me wrong, and Xiaohao had a solid game, but the early pressure wasn't really there come out for them. So it'll be interesting to see if we get a bit more momentum. We see junglers starting on the opposite side. Jiejie will be in position to assist his bot lane, but we could see Xiaohao go for an early gank on a Flandre and get that rolling. I do feel like this top lane matchup could go a bit one side or the other if there's a bit of effort from the team coming in.
I always love to see a little bit of capitalization on Zeri's weak early game, but it does look like Xiaohao is going to go away from that this time around and see if, you know, checking back in on Betty and QiuQiu later will be where it's at, as we do still see the full clears coming out on both those sides. I still want to keep a side eye on this mid lane. We got to see the Vex LeBlanc last time around in the last series, and it was that same volatility that I'm talking about, but it's the level 6 that really matters. So it's not going to be until we get the jungle pressure or until we get movement out of the lane that we'll get that first blood, and especially the early skirmishes that we know and love.
Well, I will say Scout has the ignite here, right, for a bit of extra pressure in the lane and matchup, but also Vex really easy just to push the waves in, right? And then also if Forge tries to contest you in trades, you get, you know, whenever an opponent dashes, you get that empowered auto, right, that you can proc with your abilities. It just becomes a little bit more precarious. So I think we should see a bit more early pressure coming out from Scout and ability to impact the map. Time being just farming up here. And again, I would love to see jungle and support intervention mid, right? If you get an early gank off on either of these two, it can go a long way.
So Viper and Meiko took a little trip together. They went on a little scenic route, maybe had a little picnic in the enemy jungle. It was, you know, they were primarily there to spot out Xiaohao had started on the bottom side. They do spot that out. But my question is, you know, what do you think Viper and Meiko would bring to a pick? Would it be?
I haven't.
What would it be? You know, nothing.
I have no idea. What would I bring to a picnic? I don't.
What
even
would
know
you bring
that,
to a
right?
picnic, Ox? That's the question.
Know,
Now
man.
it's the most important thing. Sandwiches.
I don't know.
Bread, drinks.
It depends what other people are bringing. I feel like you sprung this upon me, and
It's perfect.
I'm not prepared.
All right, well, EDG have set up their picnic here at the bottom side, at least maybe a little bit camping for JJ. See if they can get the barbecue started for Meiko onto the engage. Betty getting oh so low. Tower shots are starting to come through, though. They get the 1-for-1 trade. It's a 2-for-1. And now Jiejie in some trouble. The flash, the stun, Forge is here. But Jiejie putting in some serious work. This is the early game skirmishing that a Zhao could do, and a kill goes over to Jiejie. Now he's feeling confident to take it to Forge, but Forge is about to get his resets back. He's about to get his cooldowns back and Xiaohao back. Jiejie trying to back away at this point. He does not have flash. He cannot get away. The side steps aren't enough, and Xiaohao, oh, he doesn't get the kill. I thought Jiejie could potentially get Forge. It's just chaos across the rift, ending up at AL with the gold lead.
Yeah, what a mess, honestly, coming out from EDG. Going for the dive. I mean, I think, you know, they don't even deny too many minions away from Betty, but ultimately trying to find a successful play. But the problem is, I think QiuQiu just does a beautiful job here, okay? Q's to interrupt the Zenith Blade for Meiko again. That interaction we were talking about earlier, it means he can't lock down Betty quick enough, and then the tower shots ramp up, and we managed to get those 2 kills. But unfortunately, Forge missing the chain here means he doesn't proc the Sigil of Malice. And that difference, that extra level of damage and burst not available, means Jiejie is able to trade back a fair bit. So it's not a disaster for EDG, but man, credit to QiuQiu, completely outplayed them in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, EDG were walking into the campsite. They didn't see the sign said no camping here, and QiuQiu made sure they definitely knew at the end of that one that they do not want to come back that way. Do still see no early priority because of that early skirmishing into the dragon, but we do have, you know, at least full clears coming out from both these junglers now. That means we'll see more priority on the next movements, the next strategies, especially around these neutral objectives.
Yeah, one thing I will say is that Forge fell very behind in terms of farm by going for that teleport to match. So 30 CS to 46 right now. Does have a few extra minions to pick up, but it was costly, right, to go for that play to defend on the bot side. So there was some trade-off in that regard. But still, I think AL pretty happy with how it panned out. Now, EDG going to start off this dragon. No real contest to come in. Xiaohao currently on a reset. And, no, I'm just going to say, based on the previous game, I think securing early dragons probably pretty good for EDG. And not letting AL get like a 25-minute Infernal Soul.
It's going to be funny when it's not Hextech or Infernal. It's going to be like Cloud Soul or something. It's like, man, come on, one time. But still, early stacking for EDG is so important. We saw that proactivity not being there in game 1 was the bane of their first game. So having that and having Jiejie out on the map actually showing his face is important for this second game and the turnaround for EDG after that, because even though the chaos goes through the window in the first bits and we're 3-2 early on, it's still showing that EDG know they need to rely on something else other than blood.
And, you know, they have late game tools, right? Talked a bit before about how they have a lot of team fighting power, especially as I feel like there is ways to check Viper. I think the Nautilus ult is a big one, but, you know, he can really ramp up in a fight. I still think AL, right? We talked about this mid jungle, this LeBlanc, Lee Sin, and how much they did even after level 6, right? We were talking a lot about how level 3 they had an advantage. Here, we just saw Forge really pop off when given the window in game 1.
Jiejie forcing this. They knew there was a control ward there, and they still want to fight over the blue buff. Level advantage is still there for Scout as they move in. Now you got Forge into the fight, but the blue buff is already taken. Jiejie going on QiuQiu. Scout gets QiuQiu, and now the resets are available. Shadow Surge forward onto Betty. The fear cleansed out of immediately, but there's the Ultra Shock laser, and there's the double kill for Scout. Ooh. Missing the Shadow Surge by inches, but it's still a turnaround for EDG.
This is the EDG we expect, right? Proactive play, aggress the enemy jungle, Hex Flash, over the wall from Meiko, and the follow-up is there. Critically, this wasn't under the enemy's tower at level 3, and also they had numbers there to offer up. So we see critically Scouts coming over, Hex Flash comes in, stun on QiuQiu, the Glacial Augment, Freeze Rays, pretty spread evenly across everyone, and it's just really easy for them to find the reset. Also, Scout landing that double fear. The damage follow-up is huge, and then obviously doesn't find the final ult to kill Xiaohao. I'm not sure if he would have gone for it anyway, honestly. On the tower would have been a bit risky, but at the end of the day, EDG managing to find an advantage. 700 gold up, and they have that first dragon in pocket, so a good start from them. And it's this mid jungle we talked about, right? This Zhao, Vex, both of them 2 kills in pocket now.
Yeah, and that's a huge difference from that first game. Now we see Jiejie also going, oh my god, the lightning crash, and Betty's not level 6 yet. Can't get the distance on the damage from Viper, though, but that's the scary part about it. He's still being able to put down the poke as well. Yeah, it's just not a problem there as Jiejie forcing the Rift Herald.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? Chocho bot side means no real threat off this play. You can see that Meiko made his way up there. And just Viper confident enough to challenge them 1v2. We'll be able to clear out these minions. So nothing gained on the bot side. Often we see at least a plate, right? Ideally 2 traded off in this scenario. But it feels like Xiaohao kind of behind on the play there. And Herald taken. You know, sometimes we throw around the word like free. And we're like, no, I don't want to say free. I want to say free. That was free.
Sometimes you just gotta say it. It frees you to say it sometimes.
That was a free Herald for EDG. So, you know, they'll take it.
Make sure to get that in there a couple more times as well. Now the question is, where do they adapt this Rift Herald into, right? Jiejie obviously looking into mid lane. I think that's absolutely priority number 1, as Vex and Scout himself having such an advantage in this mid lane already will just continue to press it in to Forge, who at this point just has nothing to say about it. And the jungle duo of the LeBlanc and the Lee Sin not having the same proactivity, not having that same edge in this one.
Yeah, I'm gonna say they didn't do this. This is like kind of similar to the impact they had last game in the early game, right? They weren't really that proactive early. It was kind of on the mid game where they stepped up, which is why I was a bit confused. And this is the same, except EDG have a more proactive mid jungle, and they are making things happen. I love the Herald play mid. We often see that you get 2 plates mid, you lower its health for the second Herald. But because it's a LeBlanc without wave clear, because we get the roam up from the bot lane, EDG don't just get 2 plates, they get the whole tower mid. And now, if you set up vision around mid, Vex will be able to push the lane up, and it makes it so scary if you're in the side lanes for AL. If you get that deep push, very easy to rotate over and apply pressure. Particularly with the Vex post 6, dives are so easy.
It really is, though. It gets so much easier just because the resets come through, the range you have as well. Now we have 30 seconds till the next dragon spawns. See if EDG put that priority back into that resource to do the stacking that AL did last time around. Luden's Echo completed for Scout, way ahead of Forge here, who just got his reset off, but was not able to buy the same power.
Yeah, so ZDZ picking up the Hull Breaker, so a lot of pressure onto the tower if Flandre is missing for like, 3 seconds. It feels like you can just pick up multiple plates, got 2 there. Obviously, Flandre with Eclipse does have the ability to heal up, so if they take some heavy trades, he'll be able to benefit in the long run, but the problem is that Hull Breaker just makes the grave so incredibly bulky. Now EDG trying to get control of the area and looking for potential picks.
Scout's just looking for it as well as Meiko, but they don't find it, and it's still the dragon priority from EDG taking that priority as they are taking their second dragon of the game. Xiaohao down here, but just a little bit too late with Jojo.
Yeah.
Oh, lightning crash over the wall. Betty didn't expect it. He had the flash out. Didn't burn the cleanse, but that is a big cooldown for an ADC who needs to stay safe.
Yeah, is it a Rek'Sai? Is it a Bard? No, it's a Zeri flying over walls near you. And Betty burns flash and still has the cleanse. Fortunately, didn't get connected on by the solar flare, but it kind of just shows the threat that this Zeri poses to anyone in real talk. Now has the Triforce completed, did just cash in on the call, so a lot of momentum in favor of EDG. They're 2.5k gold ahead, looking to try and apply some pressure top. And this is what we're talking about. There was a deep push in mid, right? Thanks to the fact they're taking that tier 1. Now EDG can apply pressure top, and ZDZ has to play very afraid right now. They won't add any more pressure, but you have to pay so much respect.
You really do. And 4 minutes from now, we have the Infernal Soul, which, EDG getting lucky on the Dragon Pull this time again. But they are in position for Soul Point. They are the ones that, if with Soul Point, can force any fight around the map they want after that, right? Around the objectives, at least. And when the Baron starts coming into play later on, that becomes so crucial. But the next thing on the table is the Rift Herald. And we want to see a little bit more of a, I'd say, presence from AL around this one to make sure they can at least get something for themselves in terms of neutral objectives.
Yeah, I mean, it's just been a monopoly for EDG on these neutrals, and they've been very proactive this game, which is what we want to see. It's just so weird that game 1 can be so inactive, and then game 2 just so much more momentum. And even here, right, they're just leaning up, denying ZDZ, forcing away from the tower, allows Flandre to push up and get some damage. Now we do see the opposite happen on the other side, coming out from the side of AL, looking to get some plates, and they will go to Betty, which is, a pretty solid investment, all things considered.
Still needing to catch up in gold, will do so at least with some of those plates going down towards his way. And Viper making it to the lane. We have the split pushing vision going on here. Actually, Viper Going forward, Betty.
Oh, my Lord.
Betty, he can't even get the Moonlight Vigil off. Viper with the solo bolo.
There's 3 of them there. There's 3 of them there from AL, and he just steps up and kills Betty. Like, how is this allowed to happen? I have no idea.
And now Jiejie steps up, doesn't get the blue buff, doesn't get engaged back on as Xiaohao misses the dredge line at least. Meiko and Jiejie keeping it up here. Viper taking some tower shots to join them.
Man, I mean, just Viper's playing this Zeri so aggressive and finding these windows. Just kills Betty. Now going to be able to pick up this bot lane tower himself. And obviously defended his own. And, you know, Viper's so confident to step up here. Minion wave vanishes. The tower hit connects and then just chases down Betty. Remember, no flash from earlier. And the thing is, Xiaohao and QiuQiu knew that the enemy team were coming and they had to get away. We weren't really in position to turn around. And now, gold lead, 3,500 in favor of EDG. 2 dragons in pocket still. And I'm scared because this Zeri is fed, right? Flandre getting fed. Going to pick up a tower here on the top side. Everyone on the side of EDG has a gold lead. Apart from Meiko, but, you know, no one's really too worried about the support. But
hey, he has a gold lead. It's like 30 gold, okay?
Well, you know, we'll take it. But everyone else is like 1,000 plus, right? That's the thing. It's like, even if you kill one member, everyone feels like they're pretty ahead in terms of gold. And pressuring this tier 2 mid, Forge not with the best wave clear, can't really hold up. And they're getting a Herald at the same time.
Wow.
Like,
what is
They're getting so much.
This is insanity. The fact that we've seen the turnaround from EDG. You asked, where is this World Championship team? Where is EDG? Well, here they are, taking complete dominance in the early game of this second game of the series. And it was non-existent in the first one. So lovely to see them show up here at least at some point. Right? Fashionably late are the world champions.
Yeah, but now they are really making their impact known. It's 55 seconds until that dragon. Scout probably going to push this wave and then reset, I would assume. And then I want to see, you know, EDG can just keep chaining this together. And I talked about the impact of the Infernal Soul last game, but Jayce and Vex with Infernal Soul is... Man, that's just not even fair.
It really isn't. And AL still have something to say about that. Still 2 dragons away are EDG from that stacking, and AL maybe not putting the priority around the bottom side just yet. So 3rd dragon should go over to EDG if they pounce on it. But interesting to see the focus from AL towards the top side.
Yeah, I feel like their plan is to cross. I respect this plan, right? You go top, you pick up a tower, you have objective bounties, there's a lot of gold. You cannot contest EDG right now at all, period. Your goal is just to trade cross map and mitigate.
Viper's an ADC. Look where he's at right now. He's taking tower shots. He don't care. He's under the towers as now focusing back on the tier 2 here. Rifttail charge secures that one. And it's just face-breaking skills coming out from EDG and confidence from Viper.
Viper is so bold this game, honestly. And AL will pick up the top lane tower, has an objective bounty as well. I still think this is the right play, right? You lose the tier 2 bot, you lose the dragon. But I'm going to be real with you. I think they lose those anyway. AL is so far behind right now. 4,000 is the goal difference. 3 dragons in pocket for EDG. But at least they're doing something, right? At least they're trying to make something happen on the other side. And there's the hope that something will manifest out of them getting a bit of gold in the later stages. But I'm still concerned. I just think the team fight from EDG is so stellar.
Yeah, I mean, at this point...
Runan's now picked up for Viper as well.
At this point, I mean, all eyes on Betty, right? You're not going to have the damage for Forge to pick out members. You're not going to have the damage from Xiaohao to really separate the fight. It's just going to be the Dragon Rage kick, hoping that it goes right into the mouth of Betty and trying to get Aphelios in a stable place for the fights, right? And we've seen Betty do it time and time again, usually on the Jinx, as we were saying, but not this time around. Could be a tall test, but a passable one for Betty himself.
Yeah, I just think it's so hard from this position, and Forge might be caught out. Especially
if you keep getting caught out. The flash burned by Forge as well, so 5-minute cooldown on the books. EDG pushing topside.
It just feels like AL, as much as the cross mapping's good, it really struggled to see how they're going to be able to contest them like head to head. Now, AL trying to defend this top lane tier 2. The wave has been pushed up here, and you can even see Flandre moving over to cover mid wave. A proactive move from the whole team, but I do think AL got the Infernum on the Aphelios, should just be able to clear this wave out.
And I was talking about Forge not having the possibility to, you know, blow people up just yet, but he's not stopping trying, all right? He's going for the pokes, and that's what really matters. Speaking of terrifying,
he lands one
though,
Q.
Yeah.
To 70 damage. There we go.
Yeah, I mean, hey, it's progress, all right? It's progress. That vision toggle was terrifying, by the way. Literally, AL can't walk into their own jungle. Xiaohao now gets the Shadow Surge onto him, but they're not going to pull the trigger on that because all they wanted was a tier 2 tower.
And it's just really great seeing this proactivity from EDG, right? They lean up towards the top side, get all this vision control, crush the wave in. They then have Flandre pushing mid. And then on the next wave, they already have the vision set up. They rotate over. AL just can't contest a 5-man strong. And I think EDG doing a really good job of snowballing this mid game, right? Kind of what we should be expecting of this team. But you give them a lead, and I feel like EDG are so good at just ramping it up for the most part. There's definitely been instances this split where they flaked a little bit. But so far holding strong. And we talked about that time of last game. 2-minute 40 on the Infernal Soul. And, you know, this is a rhetorical question, but it's kind of like, what can AL do to stop them?
It's all Betty.
Before that point?
It's all Betty. The only problem is there's so many catch-up
like,
potentials.
unless EDG, like, all 5-man stack and he gets a big Infernal, it's so hard to see at this point. And the thing is, they have pick potential, right? If LeBlanc can find something, but it feels like EDG are very measured with their movements around the map and aren't really given too much room for that to happen.
And now they're just positioning around the Baron pit, just make sure their vision game is strong, just in case AL want to move up a little bit. They can find some picks themselves. But as you said, you know, 2 minutes on the Dragon, that's all EDG are looking for. They want to find picks, and they want to take the objective.
And I feel like you have another window where you got to start thinking as AL as how we're going to approach this one. I mean, we saw last game, EDG just gave up the Infernal Soul, right? When AL win favor. But I feel like if you do that, I don't see much hope, right? In all honesty, for AL, if that ends up happening. I think getting some vision now. Resets have started to come in from EDG. You can see Meiko in particular will reset to restock his wards. That's a potential window to move in. But unfortunately, QiuQiu also going for a reset at this point, and it's going to be difficult. I really think a pick is what is needed for AL to come out ahead. So I'm watching Forge on this LeBlanc. He's pretty farmed up. Level 13. He is obviously down in gold, but there's still potential.
There is, definitely. I'd love to see, you know, second item power spikes coming through the Bloodthirster for Betty himself, trying to make sure that that defensiveness comes through to some extent and get that survivability at least, because you might not have a LeBlanc or Elisa on the other side. You're still going to get blown up, my friend. And got to be able to dodge some of those for sure. And
look at these item spikes, by the way.
Yeah, that's what I was just
Shadow
about to
Flame
say.
for Scout with a triple pen combo. And then critically, look at Flandre's mana immune. It's 9 stacks away from being like this huge mid-game spike for the Jayce. I feel like this is really, I won't say unwinnable, but I will say exceptionally hard for AL to win.
Viper again taking the aggressors. Oh my god, Betty. Oh no, Betty. Meiko goes in. Betty gets out because of that blast code, but Viper is putting on the pressure constantly. Forge found Jiejie. Sonic Wave does not hit onto him. Collateral damage, everything used at this point. They still don't get him. Now AL moving forward for this fight in particular. Moonlight Vigil, Dragon Rage Kick, and Depth Charge available for them. They've got to pick apart the fight somehow, because if you take a full 5v5 at this deficit, at this team, it's not going to matter how much ultimates you have. As we see EDG moving in on the flanks here as well. Scout has the Shadow Surge, has everything. Lightning Crash from Viper goes golden immediately. And here comes the pick apart. AL absolutely have no chance. A chance, maybe no chance, because that is a full team fight win. EDG are wiping the floor with them. It's a full ace. At this point, feels just like the game is over, even though they still have to go through the trials and tribulations of taking the Nexus.
It's a 7k gold lead. It's Infernal Soul. I think they're going to go for Baron off the back of this. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't even close. There wasn't even an inkling of hope. There was the start of the fight when they managed to burn JJ's health bar down, but then he goes towards the Krugs, heals up with Smite, and AL just flop, right? And, you know, in fairness, it's kind of expected. EDG with this much of a gold lead, they are going to stomp you in a fight. But, man, it's like there was just nothing going for them in that fight.
Did you know, when you came into this, were you like, oh, Viper's going to be the engager for this team? This is going to be the forward engage will be Viper 100%, no problem. Xiaohao, though, speaking of something serious, tries to get the Sonic Wave. Will not be able to get into the pit, just denied by Meiko. The kick actually through, and yeah, no matter what, Xiaohao trying his darndest will not make it in there. And the Baron secured by EDG.
Well, you know, I'm going to say at this point, I think we have to kind of expect Viper to be in the engage. With the way he's been playing this Zeri, he is just diving in at any opportunity, really playing on the aggression. And we're going to see the replay of this, right? It's just, they just crushed them, right? The poke is coming in for the Jayce, which is so difficult to deal with. Viper dashing in, stopwatches the Dreadline, and Xiaohao ward hops in. He's like ready to commit onto the play. Yes, the follow-up comes after, but by that point, so much had been invested to deal with Viper. The rest of the team just flies in. Scout one-shotting Forge. It just didn't even look close. It was a really nifty trick coming out from Viper. I actually loved the little dash in, ult stopwatch to bait them in. But man, with the gold lead, with the item spikes as well that EDG had, it just wasn't close. And now even more, Flandre has picked up the Soreldas as a third item. Those shock blasts, not only are they going to hit, but also slow you down. And Viper as well, third item with that Titanic Hydra. It is just, it's kind of critical mass already, right?
Yeah, it absolutely is. I knew coming into this one that we were going to have a full game night. We were going to go all 6 games. I didn't say it to you, I don't think, but I called it in my brain, because when you have this kind of matchup, there's no way it can't go the distance. And I
do that all the time as an analyst. Something happens, and I'm like, I knew this would happen. I'm so smart.
It's called results-based analysis, Oxen. Results-based analysis tell me that anyone's legend are getting wiped off of Summoner's Rift for the 2nd consecutive time in a row. Betty and Forge, the only ones left, but Viper, Ultra Shock Laser into the wind becomes lightning to finish the deal. Here comes the game. 25 minutes, 15 seconds. They are on to the Nexus Towers. And game number 2 will wholeheartedly go to the defending world champions in EDG as they make the push to lock in spring playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, Jiejie finishing off with the wind becomes lightning. AL became dead in that one. They just got absolutely crushed. And it's kind of interesting, right? Game 1 was definitely a stomp in favor of AL, but this game 2 felt even more one-sided. Felt like they